What up, guys? Welcome back. We're up here with the next video. We're doing Kaz'rogal. This boss sucks, and he's dumb, and he's stupid, and he's pretty easy. So we're just gonna do it real quick. So, like always, we'll start off with the abilities that the boss has. He has 4 abilities, one of which we can't really deal with at all. The other 3 we can deal with. So, the one we can't really deal with is this cripple. Just sometimes he puts the cripple on a player. It lasts for 12 seconds. It reduces your attack speed by 75%, basically, your movement speed by 75%, and your strength by 75%. It's not dispellable. It might be dispellable like by shapeshift, Druid's shapeshift, because it does reduce your movement speed, but I'm not sure. If it does go on a feral druid, that might be fantastic. If not, you just got to deal with it. It's unfortunate. So this just happens, and it's just something you have to deal with by doing less DPS. So let's go to the 3 abilities that we can deal with. Okay, he has a malevolent cleave. Basically, he cleaves. He cleaves off the main tank and whoever then is in front of the boss, and it divides up the damage between those players. We might want to deal with this malevolent cleave 2 ways. One way, just having a couple tanks stack on the main tank and soak up some of the damage. The reason why we do want to do this, even though the main tank could take a malevolent cleave all by himself because it doesn't do enough damage to kill him, like Magtheridon in Phase 4, or Tier 4, Malevolent Cleave does not reset his swing timer, so he can cleave and melee basically within 0.1 seconds of each other, and that is super deadly if the main tank is taking all of the cleave damage. So we do want to split it up somehow. So either we stack some of the other tanks on there, or he can hit NPCs with this Malevolent Cleave as well. So we just sacrifice some NPCs by making sure there's NPCs in front of the boss as well with the main tank. We'll decide which one we want to do when we get in there. Next ability is the War Stomp. This is just a War Stomp that's in melee range, and it stuns everybody for 5 seconds. This is going to be a little bit rough because boss stuns are going to make your tank crushable. Because we probably will not be tanking Kaz'rogal with a paladin. It's going to be a warrior or a druid. And it just reduces a lot of threat that your main tank deals because he's often stunned a lot. Of course, this is always going to stun all of your melee DPS as well. However, I have heard that if you are like super pixel perfect max range of melee DPS and you're not jumping to increase the boss's leeway, that you can actually melee DPS the boss and outrange this. So melee, please try it. See if you can actually get to the very, very, very far edge, right? And see if you can actually outrange it. That would be sweet if you could. However, the main ability here is the Mark of Kaz'rogal. So let's just read it here. Periodically drains 600 mana from all enemy targets, and it lasts for 5 seconds. So basically, it drains 600 mana every second for 5 seconds. Drains a total of 3,000 mana. Okay. Targets without sufficient mana to drain detonate, dealing 10 to 11k damage, and it's basically an AOE bomb that they deal. They deal it to themselves, and they deal it to anyone within, I think, like 8 to 10 yards of them. This ability seems bad, but actually it's not too bad. I think we'll be able to deal with it very well coming into the raid with basically full Tier 5 Bis. With full Tier 5 Bis, it's really not that big of a deal. But we'll talk about it a little bit when we go over in our strategy. Okay, so let's move over here in our strategy. Oh, one thing before we go over there and mention, Mark of Kaz'rogal will come out 1 minute after the fight's engaged, and then like 45 seconds after that, and then like 30 seconds after that, and it gets more and more frequent as time goes on, meaning this is kind of like your soft enrage timer. Okay. So let's talk about strategy. Here we are in the Horde encampment, like we were talking about in the trash video. Okay, the boss and the trash, of course, are going to be coming in from this direction here, right? And the boss is just slowly RP walking up here. As soon as he engages the NPCs, I believe he actually starts his timer for that mana drain debuff. So he starts the 1 minute timer. So after he engages the NPCs, that mark will go out a minute later. So we don't want to like fluff about over here while he's engaging the NPCs, because we're just wasting our time on the mana drain timer. So as soon as he gets here, it's a go. It's go time. So if we need some more time, we'll get some misdirect. Sorry, not misdirect. We'll get some distract over here from daggers and see how we do it. Okay, so how we're going to deal with this boss is probably 3 different ways, depending on how far through the phase and how geared we are. Okay, we'll talk really quickly about how we're going to deal with this boss once we are clearing all of tier 6 and we have a ton of gear. We're just going to tank him right here and kill him, because we need help from no NPCs, and dragging him through NPCs and dragging him to Thrall and blah blah blah, it's just a waste of time at that point. So when you're super geared, you just engage him and kill him right here. No problem at all. However, before you're super geared, there might be 2 different ways we do it. The first way is once he engages the NPCs here, then we're going to have a Hunter Misdirect chain to the main tank, okay? The main tank is going to be standing here. We're going to have it be blue. And the reason why they're standing here is because this is where the Tauren warriors are. Remember that we talked about during the trash video? You know, the gargoyles that were coming down, and we want the Tauren warriors to war stomp them. So they're here. So basically, we would get misdirect chain onto the main tank, and then the main tank, the Tauren warriors would get involved, and then the main tank would then drag Kaz'rogal to Thrall. Okay. As we get a little bit more geared, we probably will just take out the portion where we engage the Tauren warriors, and we'll just drag him to Thrall until we get super geared to where we just kill him like this. Okay. But for the first week, our pull is going to be engage NPCs, chain our misdirects from all of our hunters to our main tank here, which is going to be a warrior or a druid, and then basically get all of these NPCs involved, and then they backpedal and backpedal and backpedal, doing DPS and threat all the time, maybe a little bit faster than backpedal, right? We're on a time frame here until we get Thrall involved. Okay. Before we talk about anything else, we do want to talk about positioning really quickly when we get to Thrall. So let's make Kaz'rogal a little bit smaller here. Okay. We talked about the Malevolent Cleave, right? There is one thing we do not want the Malevolent Cleave to be doing. Well, 2 things. We don't want it to be killing our melee DPS, but we also do not want it to be killing Thrall. Malevolent Cleave will cleave down Thrall, and if he dies, the fight resets. So we need to make sure when we position, Thrall is behind Kaz'rogal. Any other NPCs that are in front and eat some of the Malevolent Strikes, that's no problem, but Thrall needs to be behind him. Okay, so let's make sure our melee DPS here are behind him. Red is our melee DPS. Green is our Rep Paladin. Sorry, Rep Paladin, you suck. If we even have you. Okay, and then what's going to be happening is all of our ranged DPS on our healers are just basically spread out, around here. Okay, around Kaz'rogal. We might do some clumps, like a group here, a group here, and let's say maybe a group here, right? Something like that. Either evenly spread or like small groups, like so we can benefit from totems and Boomkin Aura. A small groups probably sounds better because of that. Okay, so once we get the positioning correct, okay, then we have to then worry about the mechanics. Again, melee. Let's talk about getting super max range to see if we can avoid that War Stomp. We have to watch threat because the main tank will be getting stomped. Okay. However, we might be wanting to use some FAPs on the main tank just for threat issues. Okay, because if you avoid like 3 of those stuns during the 30 seconds that FAP is up, it's going to be a ton more threat for you. Wonderful, super awesome. Probably going to be able to use 2 FAPs during this fight because it's going to last, maybe around 3.5 minutes on our first kill, 3.5 to 4 minutes on our very first kill. Okay, so as soon as we get him into position, use 1, and then 2 minutes later we'll use another one just for threat purposes on the main tank. Okay, second thing we want to talk about, just a little quirk here with druids, is if you are a druid, Resto Druid, or Boomkin, If DBM Timer says there's going to be a new mark soon, you can shift into bear form to avoid the mark because you don't have any mana in bear form, and it won't drain your hidden mana that you still have. So, Resto Druids, Boomkins, use the trick. You get a nice little kind of pass on this fight to save a lot of mana being drained from you. Okay? Awesome. Some other things is I did see on the PTR, immunities will take off the debuff. So immunities will take off the mana drain mark. That's what I saw on the PTR. Maybe it'll change. I don't think it would change though. So any immunities should take it off. So hopefully if we have Cold Snap on our mages, we can just double take off the debuffs. You know, our paladins can bubble to take off the debuffs. And I think that's about it. Rogues, you're not going to get the debuff anyway. You have no mana. Okay. Second thing we need to do is we need to make sure we are using our mana potions early because we're going to be using 2 on this fight because again, like I said, it's going to be about 3.5 to 4 minutes long. So we want to use our first mana potion within the first 30 to 45 seconds of the fight starting. So then we can use another one 2 minutes after that, right? So hopefully when 2.5 or 2 minutes and 45 seconds hits, we use our second mana potion. The other thing we do want to do is we also want to be using Dark Runes on this fight if we can. We can farm these out of Skullman's pretty easy. It's not really a big deal. During progression, we're probably going to just get a stack of 20, and you should be good to go for all of Kaz'rogal for the rest of time. Because once we get geared, we won't need them anymore, right? And I don't see that. I see this guy being one shot by us, so no problem at all. Okay. So that's how we're going to deal with that, all the mana potions, all that kind of stuff. So, what happens is nothing. You just blow them up. You just do all of your DPS accordingly. Now, does that mean you want to chain lightning instead of doing a more efficient but very slightly less DPS rotation of just a lightning bolt? Probably not. Okay, but if your main nuke rotation is decently efficient, just be doing that. Ret Paladin, I have you marked here because you are totally mana inefficient, and that sucks. You're going to probably have to run over here and then explode when you feel as if you're going to be doing it. Okay? So what we want to look for is that when you're nuking, anytime you're below 3,000 mana, or very close to 3,000 mana, maybe 3,500, okay? And you see the next mark is going to be coming up in like 10 to 15 seconds. Okay, you just blow everything you got. Blow all the mana you got, hopefully in those 10 to 15 seconds, and then you move back. You move back, you move back, and you die. You might not even die because the damage is shadow damage, and it is fully resistible and partially resistible. So it most likely you will not be taking the full 10 to 11k shadow damage. And if you have lots of HP at this point, you might not even die. Come back in with some mana reg, get mana stuff, get a few casts off, and then go back out. If you're below 1,000 mana, I would recommend just staying out full time. Again, if you're 3,000, anywhere from like 3,000 to 3,500, just blow as much DPS as you can as possible into him, and then like when the mark comes out, just run up. So then you're out before you explode. Again, like I said, this is a very simple fight. I fully expect us to one-shot this one, just as long as people don't make any mistakes, and we fully utilize all of the things and the tricks and the tips that are useful to us. It should be definitely an easy fight. Okay, so to recap, we'll see if we want off tanks to soak the cleave or just the NPCs to soak the cleave. We don't want Thrall to be getting cleaved. Our Ret Paladin is most likely going to have to bail soon at some point to get out of there. Boomkins and Restos go into Bear to avoid the mana drain. Immunities can take the debuff off. Lots of mana pots, 2 per fight. Dark Runes, 2 per fight. And we're just going to nuke him and run out when it's appropriate. Okay? Thanks, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one for the 4th boss here. All right.